now, right now. Right 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 now, right now. Oh, I got a real good feeling.
We try to bring you high-quality educational and informational content every single day. Why do you think the price is having such an anemic time? The news story of the hour. Jump onto the chart. Is this the beginning of a massive financial unraveling? We've got to add a little addendum to the show map today. So we start here on the daily. Now, we've been looking at the RSI on Bitcoin's daily chart for the last several days. It always has been, but it's been increasing over the last 50 years since the government has been. Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and welcome back to Coffee and Crypto Live. This is your weekday in the morning show. We bring you the latest and everything Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And in today's episode, we are going to be discussing where the next breakout will be happening on Bitcoin. As you guys know, Bitcoin has been on a massive run over the last week ever since news came out that BlackRock, one of the largest investment management firms in the entire world, was going to be applying for a most likely to be approved Bitcoin ETF. Over the last 2 days, Bitcoin has continued to trade sideways up here at these fresh levels of $30,000 that it set back on Wednesday. And so today we're going to talk about whether or not that breakout is about to continue or if we're going to have a major crash. But I do believe a major movement is coming, so we're going to talk today about which direction that's going to go and when that movement may be coming. So let's go ahead and read some chat. Really appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. We just got started. We've already got over 116 people watching. Wisely T was first today. He said he was second, but Wisely, I am happy to inform you that you were actually first. Paul Torelli said good morning. Grand Roofing Incorporated said good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. Good morning. Alex Nibo said good morning. Queen's in chat. Mario De Leon is in chat. Dan Nolan said, I love the opening. Let's get that crypto. Absolutely, guys. Mike Lowry said good morning. Happy hashtag FinSoft Friday. Crypto Mini Bike is in chat. We've got Queen in chat, Yellowstone Mining in chat, Philly Skills 1428. Thank you guys all for tuning in. Thank you so very much. All right. We're going to go ahead and jump straight on over to CoinMarketCap. But first, I do just want to let you guys know that there's a video coming out tomorrow on a Climate of Crypto episode that I'm really excited for. So make sure you stay tuned for that. We're going to break down what the rest of this, what the future is going to look like for Bitcoin. And I'm very excited for that video. Like I said, it will be coming out at 10 a.m. tomorrow. So let's go ahead and jump on over to CoinMarketCap. As you guys can see, in fact, give me just 1 second to see something. I don't know. I did not turn my cameras back on. Give me 1 second. There we go. Fixed. When we jump on over to CoinMarketCap, we can see that Bitcoin is currently trading at $30,083. It is down 0.7% in the last 24 hours, up 18% in the last 7 days, and up 9% in the last 90. That is about 0.1% on average over the last 90 days, but that is better than the negative that we were seeing just a week ago before this major rally, especially before the rally that we saw 2 days ago. Ethereum's sitting pretty up 12.5% in the last 7 days, sitting at 1872. We're seeing USDC trading sideways. I actually saw somebody at the gym this morning who had a USDC shirt on, and it said circle on the side. So I was like, I wonder if he's a cryptocurrency investor. I mean, obviously, he probably is. It's pretty cool to see. Binance Coin is down 2.46% in the last 24 hours, notably only up 3% in the last 7 days. In the last 90, it is down 25.48, and this is pretty typical of most of the altcoins. You are seeing many of the altcoins that were listed in those complaints that the SEC filed are down in a major way right now. Bitcoin and Ethereum are the only two that are up over the last 90 days. BNB is down 25.48%. Cardano is down 20%. XRP is up 9.3% because XRP is used to being labeled a security. They were one of the first cryptocurrencies that the SEC came after a few years ago. That court case is still, of course, very important in the news. Solana down 21.67% in the last 90 days. It has rallied in the last 7. Many of these cryptocurrencies have, Cardano, Solana, Binance, etc., but many of them are simply recovery rallies, relief rallies. They're not major turnarounds that we would like to see. Matic up 15% in the last 7 days, but still down 40% in the last 90. Polkadot up 13% in the last 7 days, down 20% in the last 90. You can see just how much Bitcoin and Ethereum combined are running away with market dominance. If we look at the market dominance of Bitcoin and Ethereum combined, which is another metric that we should pay very close attention to, we'll see, going back to, let's see here, about November of 2022, you can see that their combined that their combined market dominance was around 56%. 38 plus 18 is 56%. That'd be 56.27. Yes, 56.27% where we're hovering right here on November 30th. If we move to today, we can see Ethereum has lost a little bit of market dominance to Bitcoin, but honestly, they've both moved up together quite a bit. Ethereum is up quite a bit from that time that we looked at just a minute ago, where it was sitting at around 17%. Now it's all the way up to 19.19. It's actually dropped down from 20. If you combine Bitcoin and Ethereum's market dominance, they are collectively sitting at 69.6%. 68.6%. That's a huge uptick. We've seen, let's see here, 12% more market dominance flow into Bitcoin and ETH. And the reason that is occurring is because Bitcoin has been hands down unequivocally stated as not a security by Gary Gensler many times. So that means that Gary Gensler doesn't think that it's a security. At least he's on record of saying that. He's been also on record before of saying that that Ethereum is not a security, but then he's turned around and changed the cards and said everything but Bitcoin is a security. So we don't know exactly where he stands on that, but in this recent wave of attacks against cryptocurrency, Ethereum was not labeled a security. So it makes sense that Ethereum has been doing so well. We have seen so much valuation flow out of the smaller cap into the bigger caps, and honestly, I think that's healthy. You see, what we are experiencing over the last year is something that I like to explain with an analogy, and that analogy goes a little something like this. Whenever you have a forest that grows and grows and grows and grows and grows for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years, then eventually that forest gets overgrown. It's kind of interesting. Behind one of the museums around in our town, they have different age of woods, and they planted them at different stages. So they've got about an acre, and they have a sign there that says this acre was planted, this forest was repopulated in this year, and it goes back every 5-year increments. And you can see the difference in the age of the forest. And as the forest goes from being about 10 years to 15 to 20 to 25 years old, you can see there's a lot more underbrush. There's a lot more detritus and dead stuff at the bottom of the older forest. And the reason that is because there have not been any burns. There's not been a controlled burn. And so whenever you have a forest growing, it's actually very important to maintain the health of the forest through things like controlled burns. That doesn't really happen in areas like the jungle, but if you're talking about in a temperate zone like in Florida or the southeastern United States, or even out west, then you need to have those controlled burns to clear out the debris. And so that's kind of what we're seeing right now in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. We're seeing a controlled burn over the last year and a half that has cleared out the debris. It's cleared out a lot of the market capitalization that was in many of these small altcoins that just frankly did not deserve to be there. Those altcoins had not earned that valuation, so they are being weeded out. It's natural selection at its finest. And so the majority of the spoils are going to the victors right now. Those victors are Bitcoin and Ethereum. That is not a bad thing, though, because that does signal that we are entering into a new bull market, because that's what happens every time we go into a bull market. Bitcoin specifically, but also sometimes Bitcoin and Ethereum collectively will go into a rally on the dominance charts. From there, they'll be able to rally quite a bit. Now, that does have a real impact on the market that's quite obvious to see. For Bitcoin, we started this whole war with war against the SEC at $27,000. Right now, Bitcoin is at 30. It's up 11% since then. Bitcoin is theoretically, anyway, gained from that, at least from the events of the last 30 days collectively. Of course, BlackRock's ETF announcement was one of them. During that same time, Cardano, even though it's bounced and rallied a good bit, is still down 23% from where it was. So you see that Bitcoin is disproportionately receiving benefit from the crazy amount of volatility that the month of June has brought. So we've talked a little bit about why Bitcoin has rallied so much. We've talked a little bit also about why Ethereum has rallied so much. Ethereum is also basically sitting right there around the same level that it was at when the SEC lawsuits came out. But now I really want to talk about the question, what happens next? Many of you guys are obviously going to be wondering, well, wait a minute, Jeb, didn't Bitcoin just go on this giant rally? If Bitcoin's going on this huge rally, doesn't that signify that we are going to need to see some kind of huge correction relatively soon? Well, I'd like to go ahead and analyze the previous rally that we saw that was of the same caliber. You see here on March 10th of 2023, Bitcoin began a massive rally. That rally then had gasoline dumped on it. That fire had gasoline dumped on it. On March 15th, which you can see right here, Wednesday, when the CPI data released and CPI dropped by 0.6%. Bitcoin would go on to rally even farther, and you can tell what Bitcoin did to correct from that movement. Instead of having a major crash, Bitcoin, which may have only taken 2 to 3 weeks, Bitcoin instead corrected sideways for 3 months. Bitcoin's movement here, even though it was only a week, that it was only a week in duration, ended up needing 3 months of time-wise correction. Remember, one of the principles of technical analysis that we talk about quite a bit here is that there are 2 ways that a market can correct. A market doesn't just have to correct by going the opposite direction of the primary movement, in this case a bullish movement, so the correction would be to the downside. The market can also correct by trading sideways. That normally will take 5 to 10 times longer, though, because there's not an actual retracement. There is just a holding fast at that level. So what we're seeing happen right now is that Bitcoin has gone through a huge rally, and the question now becomes, how is Bitcoin going to respond to this? I suppose that question needs to be broken down into 2 further questions. Number 1, is the rally over? And number 2, when the rally is over, what will Bitcoin do? So let's discuss that first question in as much detail as we can. Is the rally over? Well, we have 2 analogous rallies that we can analyze that will give us some context to that question. Those 2 rallies, of course, are here in January of 2023 and March of 2023. Those 2 rallies were 2 months apart, and the only reason that they were that close was because this market had a massive crash. Bitcoin did not trade sideways for 2 months, and then we went on the big movement over here in May or something. We had a major crash that led into this explosive movement here in the month of March. Both of these movements stand roughly $7,000 tall, a little higher. This one's about $9,000 tall. And so we can see that Bitcoin's movements here are relatively large. This one is 45% tall. This one is 47% tall. So that gives us some context of what Bitcoin is capable of, at least what it was capable of. If Bitcoin were to move 45% to the upside, that would put Bitcoin approaching $40,000. That would be an $11,500 rally. Now, Bitcoin has done that recently. We went on an $11,500 rally in 35 days here to rally all the way up to $30,000. The question is, can we break through $31,000 and continue to the upside? I think that Bitcoin does have the exuberance to do this, and I'll break down why I think that in a couple of different from a couple of different perspectives. First and foremost, the people in the cryptocurrency space themselves are starting to become more bullish on Bitcoin and stablecoins rather than the rest of the cryptocurrency markets. They can't invest in stablecoins because they're stable, duh, so they put money into Bitcoin. And so when they are pulling money out of the altcoins, which even native cryptocurrency investors are starting to get more skeptical of, they're not taking it purely out of crypto because they believe in crypto. They just want to make sure their money is in the safest place possible. Essentially, even cryptocurrency investors themselves are moving from a risk-on approach to a risk-off approach. And so how do you do that in crypto? Well, you go to the least risky asset in the cryptocurrency space that's not a stable coin. That is Bitcoin. Of course, Bitcoin is 10 times more risky as traditional investors would see it than the stock market. But Bitcoin is still the risk-off asset within cryptocurrency, even if it represents the risk-on asset compared to the rest of the general economic and the general financial space. So we're seeing a lot of that happening. We're seeing quite a bit of movement away from the altcoins into Bitcoin because they believe Bitcoin is less risky from a regulatory standpoint right now because it has not come under fire, and it probably won't. So we're seeing more money move from the altcoins into Bitcoin. Another factor to consider is that we have seen the BlackRock news come out that we're going to more than likely see a Bitcoin ETF now. It's very unlikely that we're going to see an Ethereum ETF or another cryptocurrency ETF anytime soon. And the reason for that is because the same agency that's coming after Binance, Coinbase, and Changpeng Zhao and all of those altcoins is the same agency, the Securities and Exchange Commission, that has to approve any kind of cryptocurrency ETF. So it's unlikely that any of those altcoins are going to get ETFs when they are actively coming under fire from the very same agency which would be required to approve an ETF for those cryptos. So that gives even more incentive for people to move out of the altcoins into Bitcoin because there's a push and a pull. There's a push away from the altcoins. They're being pushed away from the altcoins by the regulators, and then they're also being pulled towards Bitcoin by the BlackRock news because a Bitcoin ETF would be one of the biggest bullish events that has ever happened to Bitcoin. And so Bitcoin's been rallying quite a lot from that. The question for that must become then, how does Bitcoin utilize that advantage. Does Bitcoin have the strength to continue moving higher from here? I would say that Bitcoin does theoretically have the strength to continue higher than $30,000 right now. And the reason I would say that is because things fundamentally changed in a huge way a week ago when BlackRock came into the space. Not only did we have almost a blank check written for a Bitcoin ETF to get approved at some point, and I don't want to be overly bullish on that, but that is a very high likelihood that that will get approved, even if it may take some time. But the other reason that I say that is because with all of that money flowing from the altcoins into Bitcoin, it also brings a massive rally on Bitcoin, which has broken this critical downtrending level of resistance, as you can see right here. Very important downtrend. With that downtrend being broken, many of the technical analysts at financial firms all around the world are going to be going and telling their managers, Bitcoin just broke this really important trend line. It rallied $6,000 in 3 days. BlackRock's looking at getting into it. The SEC attacked. They didn't attack Bitcoin, so Bitcoin seems like it's going to be safe, at least for the foreseeable future. Now might be a good time to invest. And so there's not just push from the altcoins, pull towards Bitcoin, moving people in the cryptocurrency space towards Bitcoin that we can see reflected in the dominance. There's also changes visible from space, if you will, where Wall Street can see what's going on in Bitcoin, and they are starting to get interested in Bitcoin on an institutional level. People give a lot of flack for the idea of institutions getting into crypto, but let me just break that down for you. It's actually very important that the institutions get into crypto, and the reason is the institutions, for the most part, are not always trading with their own money. They're normally trading with other people's money. BlackRock doesn't have $10 trillion of its own money. They've got a lot of money, but they don't have $10 trillion of their own capital. Apple is the most valuable company in the world. They don't have $10 trillion. They normally carry $250 billion in cash on hand. That is a 40th of what BlackRock has under management. You think all that's their money? It's not all their money. It's assets under management. These institutions have a ton of money, but it's not their money. They're managing it for their wealthy clients. So when we talk about institutions getting into the space, we are talking about wealthy people getting into the space, but we're also talking about your average, everyday high school teacher. We're talking about the plumber that fixed your toilet last week. We're talking about the mechanic. We're talking about people that are blue-collar workers that have a retirement account and they've got somebody managing it, and that money manager says, wait a minute, I can maybe make a big profit if I put 3% of their portfolio in this, because they make commission off of the market going up, so they have a financial incentive to do that. Investment into Bitcoin. And so if the institutional money gets into crypto, it will drive the market to the upside. And a lot of that money is not corporate money. Much of that money is being managed by institutions, but it is the money of the average everyday American that is not investing for themselves or letting somebody else do their investment. Those are the people that you want to get into Bitcoin, because if you get those people into Bitcoin and those money managers do their job and invest in Bitcoin at the right time, and those people turn 3% of their portfolio into 10% of their portfolio simply because of the appreciation of Bitcoin during the next year or two, you just brought online millions of new Bitcoin advocates. That is a trend that may be starting right now, because those institutions are going to be much more willing to follow the king of institutional investment, BlackRock, into the fray of investing in Bitcoin. If BlackRock is interested in investing in Bitcoin and they're putting their money where their mouth is, every single other manager of finance is going to say, wait a minute, BlackRock knows what they're doing, else they wouldn't be so large. They would not be the juggernaut that they are if they weren't good at what they did. And so that is going to give quite a lot of extra confidence for institutions to get in. The point I'm making here is that if we're talking about where Bitcoin will end this rally, I think Bitcoin has the strength to continue this rally quite a bit. And the reason for that is because these institutional investors have a few days that it takes, a few weeks sometimes that it takes to really get into Bitcoin. If they're just getting into it for the first time, they got to go find an expert. They got to say, how do I do this? They got to get a custodian. They got to, hopefully invest in a Bitcoin ETF at some point in the future. But they try and get into Bitcoin, and that takes a little bit of time. But that clock is ticking, and that money is going to start to flow in. There could be a snowball of bullish pressure, therefore, that would push Bitcoin further to the upside. So where will Bitcoin finish this rally? That is the first question. How far will Bitcoin go? The second question is, what does Bitcoin do next? This rally is not necessarily over. It's on pause. You see, when Bitcoin went through this major rally, it went on pause for about a month. Bitcoin ended its rally March 18th, picked it back up April 11th. From there, Bitcoin would go into rally a couple thousand extra dollars. Rallied $3,500, up 12.6% over the course of a week. It's very possible now, therefore, that Bitcoin does something similar. It could trade sideways for a week and then rally to the upside. Let's go ahead and take a look at Lux Algo back here. Remember, guys, Lux Algo is a wonderful, incredible technical indicator that I've been telling you guys about for years. It had a buy signal get confirmed here on the 16th of March, 2023. This buy signal... This buy signal made all the difference because this buy signal actually gave us a take profit higher than where Bitcoin originally ran to. And if we run it forward, you can see Bitcoin would end up going up to the very top of that take profit. You see this? The end of the first leg of the rally ended at the bottom of the take profit zone. The second half of the rally ended at the top of the take profit zone. Does that make sense? We'll run it forward, and you're going to see these different take profit zones getting hit. Lux Algo does a great job of giving us movements that run to them. And if we look here, Bitcoin has basically come right up to the bottom of the take profit zone, which is exactly what it did last time on this major rally. The bottom of the take profit zone was right around here, right around 28.3. Bitcoin isn't quite to the bottom of the take profit zone yet, but of course Bitcoin hasn't rallied quite as far as it did back here. Bitcoin very well may come up here and test $30,000, $31,000 relatively soon and try and push into the take profit zone, but that could be anywhere from a week to a month away. The point I want to make to you today is that while this rally could be over, and there's a very high possibility that it is, there's also a very strong likelihood that it's not. And part of the reason for that shows up on the longer term time frames. On the weekly chart, we just put in a huge green candlestick. That green candlestick has also brought about a bullish convergence on MACD on the weekly chart, which is likely about to converge bullish. As I showed you in yesterday's stream, there's only been a couple of times in the last several years that we've seen a bullish cross on MACD on weekly chart above the zero level, and both of those times Bitcoin went into huge rallies, as you can see here back in 2020 and 2021. It's a relatively rare event to have a bullish cross above the zero level. When it happens, it's normally very powerful. So that is going to give us some bullish exuberance over the next several weeks as well. Looking at the weekly chart, you can see we broke the downtrending trading channel, downtrending wedge, however you want to see it. Out on the monthly chart, you can see that there's a bullish MACD cross coming into play. Bitcoin has not had a bullish MACD cross on its monthly chart since June of 2020. Do you remember what happened the next month? Bitcoin would rally in July of 2020 by over $2,500, and from there, Bitcoin would go on to rally $48,900 in the span of a year. Bullish MACD crosses on the weekly chart are remarkably important. This will only be the third in the history of the Coinbase chart on Bitcoin, and both of them led to huge rallies. You can also see here that Bitcoin moving to the upside over this last period has led to a bullish engulfing candlestick formation on the weekly chart. On the monthly chart. That indicates huge amounts of bullishness. All of these longer term factors will end up cascading down to the shorter term time frames down on the daily chart, because remember, the market's really moving on the weekly and the monthly chart, and we're just seeing the detail down on the daily chart. The major brush strokes are happening out there on the weekly and on the monthly, but down on the dailies where we're seeing a little detail that you do with a finer brush. And so is Bitcoin going to be done rallying right now? It absolutely could, but I think, and I'm willing to go out on a limb and say this because this is a little bit of a bold prediction, but I'm willing to bet that Bitcoin has some more juice in the tank. Now, if you're going to long this market, let me be very clear. Let me just be very clear here. I want to make sure this is very clear because I don't want any of you guys to lose money because there's a risky trade that message that I just gave you. If you think this market's going to go to the upside, keep in mind, number one, technically speaking, we're kind of going against our technical indicators. RSI is sitting at 70, meaning that the bulls are overextended. And that the bulls are very strong too. So there's two sides of that. But also keep in mind, Bitcoin's just rallied $6,000, and there's a huge attack going on in the realm of cryptocurrency outside of Bitcoin and ETH. There are plenty of reasons to be concerned about this Bitcoin price falling over. Bitcoin having already rallied so much means that if you jump into a trade now, you are jumping onto a moving train. Getting on a train when it's going 1 or 2 miles an hour isn't the safest bet in the world, but you could do it and you're probably going to be fine. Jumping on a train that's going 100 miles an hour, you might get your face ripped off. So be very careful about going into a long trade right now on Bitcoin because you're trying to jump on a moving train. Sure, it may be slowed down a little bit, but not enough for you to really be safe to jump on this train unless you use a lot of security, a lot of safety. Make sure that if you are going to go into a long and try and catch the, the back third, if you will, because there's about a third of this movement left to where I think it could go up to around $33,000. If you do try and do that, two things. Number one, you probably do not want to enter that trade unless you see a ton of volume breaking our current local high. Bitcoin is very, very, very capable of double topping here, dropping back down to this uptrend, and then trying again in late July. And that would not be a bad thing. That would actually be very healthy for the market. Be hugely healthy for the market, in fact. So don't be concerned if that happens, but also don't get caught with your pants down because you entered a long trade at the top. If you're going to enter a long trade, you need to catch a new movement. This movement is over. Don't try and trade a movement that already happened. That doesn't work. You need to try and catch a new movement, which means you need to have new volume. Volume's dropped over the last 2 days because we are trading sideways. It means that you need to see more confirmations down on, say, the 4-hourly chart, for example. If you go down on Lux Algo has a take profit just slightly above where we are right now. But it did have a blue X. It had 2 blue X's. So if Bitcoin moves to the upside here, then maybe it takes this take profit and then sets a new one. Wait for some kind of confirmation that we're going to go higher. I would say if you are going to go into a long here, then I would not go into that long until at least $31,000 is breached and you are able to say, okay, something real is happening here. This is a major movement. Keep in mind also, though, that sometimes the last leg of a movement to the upside is far more likely to just V-top. We saw that happen in 2017, where Bitcoin went on one final run all the way up to a new all-time high at 20K. Bitcoin rallied to $20,000, $250 billion, to $400 billion. Had one final run up here, just pushed one more time, and then it crashed. You don't want to get caught where you enter into a long trade right here, and you make a little bit of money, and then you ride it down, right? You don't want to do that. What you want to do instead is you want to... if you are going to go into a trade this late in the movement, you're going to want to make sure that you have a very tight stop loss and you're being very opportunistic. This is the kind of trade where you want to say, all right, I made 3%. I'm going to exit half of my position. Maybe let the rest of it ride in a stop loss that is in profit. And then from there, that's where you could hold on and say, all right, I'm going to kind of raise my floor. Let's say you entered at $31,000. I'm going to raise my stop loss to $31,500. If it hits that, I'm going to raise my stop loss to $31,750. If it hits that, I'm going to raise my stop loss to $32,000. If it gets to $32,100, and use very conservative stop losses. This is the kind of trade where you only want to enter if you don't really have a risk of losing money. Let me say that again. There's two kind of trades. You can make a trade where you have a risk of losing money because you enter the trade and you're like, oh, it might go down 2 or 3% before it rallies. This is the kind of trade that you don't want to do that on. This is the type of trade where you want to set it up where you will not lose money no matter what because you entered it and you only stay in the trade if it moves up relatively quickly and you put a take profit at the level you entered plus however much it would cost to cover the trading fee, so you lose zero. That is what's known as a riskless trade. You can set up a trade that has zero risk. It just means that you might have absolutely no reward. You can set up a trade with zero risk so long as the exchange doesn't collapse in the middle of the trade. That's the kind of trade I'm talking about here. So if you're going to do a trade, set it up that way. Price target is probably going to be right before 32.9 because if we look at Lux Algo, that is right around where the middle level is, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's where Bitcoin went. Bitcoin went to the top of the take profit over here, but that's because it also originally rallied to the bottom of the take profit, so it went to the top. Right now, we're a little bit below the first part of the take profit, so we'll probably rally to the middle, which will be right around 32.5. I could see Bitcoin going to 32.5. I wouldn't want you to miss that movement if it does happen, but again, I'll say it like a 17th time. Do not enter that movement unless you're setting it up in one of those riskless trades. And I say in scare quotes because no trade is riskless, but put up a trade where your stop loss is above your entry as soon as you get into the market. You have to do that by entering the trade and letting the market move a little bit. You have to, for a second, have the stop loss right below your entry. But I hope you see my point there. You got to kind of take, the only risk you're taking is the risk on the trading fee. All right, and the way that you do that, by the way, is you catch the trade while the market's moving to the upside because you have to be watching the market while it's moving, and then you put the trade in as it's moving. Just so you know, you can't like set that as an automatic trade. You have to put that trade in as it's moving so that you can set that stop loss 2 seconds later higher than the entry. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, so that's the first question. Where is Bitcoin going to go? I am willing to bet that there's an opportunity for it moving to the upside. Of course, guys, it could go up and it could go down. Remember, technical analysis is not about making predictions about which direction the market goes. The point of technical analysis is about being prepared for whichever direction it goes and for understanding the way markets move in the first place. Remember the analogy we came up with The meteorologist's job is not just to predict where the hurricane's going to go. The meteorologist's job is to understand how dust and sand blowing off of the Saharan desert on Africa leads to hurricane formation, and how those hurricanes rotate, how wind speeds affects things, how the water temperature at the surface level of the Atlantic Ocean impacts hurricanes. The meteorologist's job is to understand hurricanes, not just to predict where hurricanes go. The purpose and the job of a meteorologist to understand hurricanes, is to understand weather patterns, is to understand snowstorms, is to understand meteorological events, not just predict where they're going to go and when they're going to happen. That is one of the uses of meteorology, but that is not the purpose of meteorology. Similarly, the purpose of technical analysis is not to make predictions about where the market's going to go, although that is something that we can do. The purpose of technical analysis is to understand where the market might go, but also understand how the market works so that we can use that in a multitude of different ways. Making predictions about where the market goes is just one of those, but the other use is finding what are the levels that it might go to. It's finding out what's the strength of this trend. What's the likelihood that the trend's going to reverse anytime soon? It's not just making predictions about where it's going to go. So could it go up and down? Of course, it always can. What I think is useful here is that there could be another leg to the upside, and that's where you may have a trade like the one we just talked about. So what happens after? Let's go to the second part of that original question we asked. Where's Bitcoin going? What does it do after it's done? What will Bitcoin do after it's done? I think that if Bitcoin does go through that rally, you're more than likely going to see a relatively steeper drop, just because Bitcoin is going to end up having like a $9,000 rally if it does rally all the way, a $7,500, $8,000 rally if it does rally all the way up here. Wherever it stops out, maybe it stops at 35, whatever, it probably will have this kind of V-top formation. But from there, I could definitely see Bitcoin dropping down and trying to establish support at $31,000. That would be so good if Bitcoin could do that. If Bitcoin could reestablish 31K as a floor, the same way that we've been using 25K as a floor, we would be in such good shape. We saw a similar thing happen last time where Bitcoin established this level right around 20K as a floor. Of course, 20K is a hugely important level because it's a psychological level, but it's also a previous bull market's all-time high. If Bitcoin could rally up to 34, 33, 32 and a half, 33, 34, 35, then drop down and use 31 as a floor, that would be absolutely beautiful. And frankly, if we do rally up here, I think that's probably what's going to happen. Bitcoin's going to fight to hold 31K. It may even drop as low as 29 and a half because we have some support back here, but I think it'll drop some and try and establish support before trading sideways for a few months and then moving into a rally towards August, September territory. Now, if Bitcoin has already topped out here, then I could definitely see Bitcoin trading sideways here for some time, similar to how we did back here in March and early April. I could absolutely see Bitcoin entering into a triangle bull flag right here, a triangle continuation pattern right here, ascending triangle pattern, and then using that later, maybe on into mid-July, to go through a breakout to the upside up towards $35,000. So those are a couple of the scenarios about where Bitcoin may go next. I do believe that I believe that Bitcoin has the strength to go on another leg of this rally, but the question, of course, comes down to, will it? And so we'll have to wait and see on that. Hopefully you guys are enjoying today's stream. To answer the question, the next Bitcoin breakout happens, I believe there is another major movement coming on Bitcoin within the next month, and I think there is a high likelihood that that will be another break to the upside. If it doesn't, though, guys, make sure that you are not in any long trades, that you don't have stop losses on. Make sure that if you're in a short trade, that you're using tight stop losses as well. Make sure you are protecting yourself and having that security that is necessary to ensure that you don't get liquidated. Because one of the best ways to become financially sovereign is not to make more money. It is to be a better steward of the money that you have. I'm not saying you can save your way into being a millionaire, because if you have a $0 income, then you're not ever going to get there. But you can only ever steward the finances that you have one time. You can never go back in history and unspend $1. You can never go back in history and undo a trade. You can never go back and be a better steward of yesterday's finances. The only thing you can do today is stay right here in the moment and invest in your education, invest in your spiritual and character development, and invest in your understanding of the concepts of financial sovereignty and technical analysis so that you can be a profitable investor and so that you can be a profitable, have profitable personal finances where you're able to invest in paying off your home, paying off your credit card debt, paying off your car, coming to a state of financial sovereignty where you have control of your finances and they are serving you and not the other way around. That is what financial sovereignty is. And since today is FinSolve Friday, I just want you guys to keep in mind that is the purpose of what we're doing here on the channel. I want you guys to live and breathe financial sovereignty. And if I can help you to achieve that, then that will mean that what I'm doing here has achieved its purpose. All right. Appreciate all of you guys tuning in. Let's go ahead and read some chat here for the last couple of minutes. We've got over 450 people watching live. If you have not already, make sure to sign up for LuxAlgo. LuxAlgo is so incredibly helpful for predicting where the market is going, predicting how the market's going to get there, predicting what the levels the market's going to go to are. So make sure that you sign up for LuxAlgo using coupon code JEB30. That's JEBB30 for 30% off at checkout. If you sign up for the monthly plan, that will be saving you $20.40 every single month. That's enough to go and, I don't know, buy 1 cup of coffee at Starbucks if you're a coffee drinker. No, I'm kidding. Of course, $20.40 actually goes a really long way when you're doing personal finance and budgeting, because you can do a whole lot with that. Put $20 every single month into paying off your mortgage just as an additional principal. Most mortgage companies allow you to put extra principal into your home without any penalty. Put $20 a month into your home, you're going to end up putting an extra, what would that be? $280 a year, would it be? No, $240 a year into your home. Over the course of 10 years, you put an extra $2,400 a year, into your house, which is going to probably end up saving you in 10 years about $10,000 on interest. That's about $1,000 a year in interest on your house that you could probably save because you used our coupon code and put the savings into your mortgage. Boom. How about that for a sales pitch? Use that coupon code and go use the LuxAlgo and your savings to generate yourself financial sovereignty. All right. Michael23 said, I go all in on Bitcoin last January 2023, invested $20K. That's all my life savings. I'm up 80% now. I keep learning more on Bitcoin every day. Wow, that is really cool, Michael23. Be very careful with having your entire life savings in Bitcoin because Bitcoin could always go through a correction, but you definitely pulled that at a good time. A lot of times that doesn't go as well as it did for you, but you definitely did a very good job with the timing there. Great timing. All right. All right, let's see. Any questions you guys want to pose? Definitely something that definitely a time to go ahead and do it. Let's see. Justin Eubank said, "Yo, at CryptoJeb, good morning. Hashtag FinSoft Friday." Indeed. 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 All right, guys. So, a couple of things also to talk about here are as follows. I'm very excited about where the channel is going. I'm really excited about some of the things we're working on behind the scenes. And I'm so pumped about tomorrow's video. I'm so pumped about it. It's coming out at 10 a.m. and I can't wait for you guys to see it. We're going to be talking about a lot of the reasons why Bitcoin's rallying right now and where Bitcoin is going. And I'm also very excited to continue bringing you guys content on financial sovereignty. I hope you guys understand what I'm talking about when I say financial sovereignty. Financial sovereignty means so much to me because it ultimately means it ultimately represents exactly the reason that I got into cryptocurrency. The exact reason I got into cryptocurrency was to gain control over my life and to gain control over my finances, that I would be able to use my life for something rather than just staying in poverty or just staying broke. You know, I wanted to be able to do something with my life that would benefit others. And I knew that I wasn't going to be able to do that in that state. You want to be able to make enough money that you are to help the people that you want to help. You don't have the ability to help people if there's nothing in your cup. You can only really help somebody from pouring out of an overflowing cup. You can give money if you're poor. You can give money if you're broke. You can do that. But it's going to be very difficult to make that sustainable. It's very difficult to go and feed the homeless and feed the poor and feed the hungry if you yourself are starving, because you're not going to be strong enough to go and do that, and eventually you're going to wear out from attrition. It's much better to ensure that you are strong, not for a selfish reason, but so that you're a good steward of your body, for example, and then use that body to go and feed the homeless and the poor. You're going to end up doing 100 times more good because you are taking care of yourself. Similarly, you can do so much more good in the world. You can give so much more generously. You can be so much more financially for those people that need that help if you are taking care of your finances. You can be so much more for your children. You can be so much more for your spouse. You can be so much more for your parents and your siblings and your church and your community and your work and whatever it is, if you yourself are in a state of financial sovereignty. Now, you need to be in the right place spiritually to be financially sovereign as well, because one of the reasons that people are not financially sovereign is because they don't have their life together. This is something that you don't hear talked about a lot in financial content, but one of the reasons that people don't have that people are not financially sovereign is because they have no discipline and structure and order in their life. They don't make dinner every night. They don't pre-pack lunch. They go to KFC for lunch. They go to Publix. Like, I used to do that every single day. I would go and I'd spend $14 to get a 3 chicken tender meal at Publix. One, it was killing my health because I was eating fried chicken and fried potatoes every single day. And two, it was killing my bank account because I was spending $80 a week on one meal. So I was spending hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars every single month on eating when I didn't have to do that. I had a higher grocery budget back then as a single man than we do now for a family of 4, and we eat way healthier because we're disciplined. So just remember, financial sovereignty is not just about learning how to manage money. It's not just learning about budgeting, because if you suck at keeping your house clean, you're probably going to suck at keeping your books clean too. If I suck at keeping my house clean, I'm probably not going to do a very good job of keeping our mint updated and doing our own personal accounting and our own personal finances. You got to get your life under control, man. And that's what sovereignty is. When we talk about sovereignty, we talk about having control, not in a way of domineering, not in a way of tyranny, not in a way of dictatorship, but in a way of servant-like, self-sacrificing leadership. We want to help you become sovereign in your life and financially sovereign in your finances so that you have control over your life and you don't feel like you're drowning every single day in all of your to-dos. I don't want you to walk into your home and see 50,000 to-dos. I need to put that away. I need to wash that dish. I need to do this. How many times you walked into your house and said, I need to make that bed. I need to clean that window. I need to do that. How many times you looked at your finances? I need to cancel that subscription. I need to change that. I need to negotiate that bill. That is not a state that you are going to be able to be pursuing your purpose where your life is not under control. You know, one of the bad habits that I have and that I'm still working on overcoming, one of the bad habits that I have is I check our mail like once every 3 months. So I end up just, doing this with all the mail and just setting it on the table, and then boom, now I have this pile of mail that I'm going to spend 2 weeks going through. You know why that's a problem? Because now every time if I walk into our house and there's a big pile of mail, then I have to think, oh man, I need to find an hour and a half to go through that mail. When I should instead be spending an hour and a half doing whatever it is that I was purposed to do, because I guarantee you that there's something more important in your life than going through a bunch of bills and junk mail. If I was on top of that every single day, and that's something that I'm getting on top of in a lot of areas of our life, we're getting on top of things. But if I was on top of that every single day, I wouldn't have to worry about that, right? When you turn daily to-dos into projects that you have to do every 3 months, that's where your life just descends into absolute and total chaos and anarchy. Being financially sovereign is not just about having an understanding of your finances. It's also about having a content of character where you are a good steward of your things. And that doesn't just mean being a good steward of your finances and your house is a mess. That doesn't just mean being a good steward of your finances and your health is a wreck. That means being a good steward of your whole life, because you have to have good form in your life if you want to lift more weights. We go to the gym 5 days a week now, and I really love it. It's actually 6 days a week. It is so enjoyable. I absolutely love going to the gym. And one of the things that Sarah and I are both doing is we are going back to basics. And we are saying, nope, we're going to go back. And if we have to go down 40% weight, fine. But we are going to have perfect form before we do anything. And you know what? Went down 40% in a couple of my lifts just to make sure my form was perfect. I'm going to work up from there. That's what we're trying to do in our life. We're trying to cut back, go back to basics, get our form perfect. We don't injure ourselves. For any of you guys who go to the gym, if you do a deadlift wrong, you can blow your back out and you can get paralyzed. If you do a squat wrong, you don't want to do form. You do a bench press wrong and drop 225 pounds on your chest, you can collapse your chest. You don't want to do form incorrectly because eventually you'll injure yourself. Here's the thing though, you can stay out of the gym and give yourself 12 weeks to heal and come back. You can't stay out of your life. You see what I mean? If you have bad form in your life and your house is a wreck and your finances are a wreck and your money's a wreck and your relationships are a wreck and your body's a wreck and you've got bad form in all of those areas, you can't just take a break for 12 weeks to heal from the injury that you caused. You have to continue through your life. You have to have good form and you can't let it slip. That is the character side of financial sovereignty. And if you want to be financially sovereign, I'm here to tell you that making your bed in the morning and putting your dishes away at night and cleaning your kitchen and making sure your car is clean is a part of that, because it's a total lifestyle makeover. It is not just about having the right mentality about finances, about having the right mentality of life and being a servant leader who is in charge, but uses that control for the benefit of others over your life that will eventually lead you to financial sovereignty. Really appreciate all of you guys tuning in. We got a lot of really wonderful comments in chat. I appreciate. Chris Reed said, your videos have been very helpful for a newbie like me. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Flair Staking said, fire. Thank you. Well, why do you suck keeping your hairdo clean? How it feels. That's a good point. Yeah, see, that's something that I know. I got on stream, and I'm being very vulnerable with you guys because I'm not trying to argue that I am perfect at this because I'm not. My hair is a mess right now. You want to know why? Because we got to the office and I was exhausted. I'm in the process of going off of caffeine. And I've done a pretty good job. I got to the office and I was a complete just wiped out. Normally I come in and I do my hair at the office because we go to the gym. I come in, I clean up my hair and everything. And I was so tired. So I sat there for a few minutes and just trying to collect myself and make sure I had enough energy to go on stream. So yeah, my hair is a wreck right now, and that is absolutely a good point. That's what I'm talking about. If I'm not in control of my life, then you guys are going to see me, somebody who's talking about finances all day, and say, wait a minute, I'm going to listen to this dude who's got his hair all over the place? Yeah, right. And I'm going to suffer the consequences for that because it hits my credibility. Do you see what I'm talking about? That's exactly my point. That's a very good point. I don't mind being the example because I want you guys to learn. If that's at the detriment of my own image, I don't care. The point is that if I'm not doing a good job taking care of my hair, if I'm not being a good steward of that, and I don't look professional, that's going to make you guys take me less seriously and be less likely to accept and listen to the message I'm telling you, which is absolutely true. But if you don't trust the guy that's giving the message, then you're never going to hear it, and then you won't benefit from it. All that because I didn't brush my hair, right? We've got to have good form in our life, and that's an area I do need to do better. So yeah, I totally agree. You cannot pour from an empty vessel. Grind hard performance system says, huge love, Jeb, amazing words, brother. Someone said, happy Friday. Happy Friday. You can also just be a nice human being. That is a very big part of it. That's a very big part of it because the way you speak about one person is the way you will speak about everybody. And if you speak horribly to other people, you will probably end up speaking horribly that way to your children and your spouse and to yourself. And you got to be very careful because Proverbs 18:21 says the power of life and death is in the tongue, and those who love it will reap its consequences. So be very careful with that. All right, guys, I am over time. It is Friday, so make sure that you have a great weekend. Make sure to sign for Lux Algo if you have not already, and stay tuned for tomorrow's video. Really excited about where that is going. So make sure you stay tuned. That is going to go ahead and wrap it out. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit that post notification bell before Monday so that you'll be updated when Coffee and Crypto comes out then. Thank you guys so very much for tuning in. Before I go, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Oh, I got a real good